think he was breathing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the season finale review of Dexter New Blood. I am the passenger, Travis Snell, and I have a great panel here, and I'm joined by...
The Dark Defender, Kirklin Patzer.
Adam Hartcaster, Dylan Moss.
Sins Taylor Field.
Keeping it simple. I like it.
That feels like some name that Prince changed it to, like in the 90s. The artist formerly known as Prince, Sins. But yeah, we got lots of stuff coming up. You know, January is usually a slow month, but like I think this week we've had a podcast every day of the week. We've had Game of the Years, we had the video game draft, we had the movie preview, we had the Boba Fett preview. So yeah, I think it's like 7 days in a row, so tons of content, and there'll be stuff next week, Boba Fett news. There's some nice juicy Batman news dropping, which I'm excited to talk about. So Taylor, when that news drops, when a podcast goes up, where can they find us?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us via internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter, and GeekVerse on our Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do too much plugs and whatnot because we got a big episode here. Everything is down below. Where to find us on audio and video feeds, where to find all the separate Geekverse feeds, where to find the podcast network feeds, which has 7 shows a week. So there you go. We're doing 7 shows. They're always pumping out content. Head over to Patreon. That is the best way to listen. You get early episodes, ad-free episodes, and exclusive episodes. Soon we're going to be doing some Patreon reviews up there. So you can go pick up movies for us, watch lots of good things on there. And the more you support us, the more content you create. We're also, this episode is sponsored by Manscaped, but you'll hear about that later and why you should be manscaping it up. But let's get into it. So we're going to start off with non-spoilers. We'll go that route, and then we will give you a warning. We'll take a little ad break, and then we'll jump into it. So I don't know how to... I have very little thoughts. All I'm going to say is the finale is very much like the rest of the season, where I think it was very good. Had some slight issues, but I think Dexter fans like myself will feel very happy with what we got. And that's really all I can say. I think that I think where we were... Oh, boy. Michael C. Hall's great. He's fantastic. He's always been fantastic, but this is another good episode to show it off. Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat. I had a few fist pump moments. I was delighted by this episode and most of the season. And like I said, this episode's not perfect, but it's it was a good final season episode. I will say that. So, Kirklin Patzer, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I feel similar to you. There's moments where I was actually getting really riled up. It was a fun time too because I watched this with Shay, and this is probably the first episode of Dexter ever that she's seen, and it's like the finale of like the finale season or whatever it might be. So it was a fun experience. Luckily, I only had to give her like a couple clue-ins as to who certain characters were, but she was, she thoroughly enjoyed it, I think. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head with your comment of just it's a really good finale for what this season was, and I agree with that sentiment. I think there's gonna be some fun talking points about the end, but until we get there, I'll pass along to one of these other gentlemen.
We'll go with Taylor Field because I'll hold Dylan's thought for last because he can break some ice and give us his thoughts on the whole season so far because that's not spoiler stuff. So Taylor Field, what are your thoughts on this finale we got here?
Gosh, I mean, there were so many aspects that were happening. Like you guys said, edge of the seat, cheering, freaking out. I was doing a little bit of all that, and
I wasn't freaking out, but I was cheering.
It was a good episode. It's probably not my favorite of this season. I definitely have some other ones that I'd put above it, but I think you're right. I think if you're a fan of Dexter and the show in general, I think you'll be content with how this trajectory went in this episode and where we got to. So yeah.
So Dylan Muss, you these past few weeks you've been catching up. So what have you thought about the whole season overall? So 1 to 9, you can drop any spoilers you want, but then episode 10, save that there. Well, so what are your thoughts on Dexter New Blood?
Yeah, I mean, I guess some quick context. Like, I discovered the show when it came to Netflix, like, I don't know, in 2011 or 2012, whenever it was, and I think the last season was 2013, or the season 8.
Yeah, so
right?
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of caught up with it in 2011-ish, and then started watching the show like when it was airing every week, and at the time I loved it so much, and I think I've always kind of considered it my favorite show, and I haven't rewatched it ever, so I don't know, sometimes those thoughts feel kind of distant, but I still have a lot of fond memories for it. And yeah, I guess for this season, overall, I've really liked it for the most part. I just like the setting. I like this town that we're in. I like in the first episode, you kind of get a quick intro of like a lot of the characters. Some of them aren't really crucial at all to the story, but some of them are, of course. But I like that they kind of throw a mixture of all of it in there, so you don't really suspect, oh, that's clearly the bad guy of this season or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think in isolation, like the individual story they told this season is really fun, really well done, and yeah, I think they really hard to pick up what the show left off with, and 8 seasons worth of content. So I'm pretty impressed with what they did overall, and yeah, I think this finale worked well. And I think the same as you guys. Like I have a lot of little issues with this season in general. I think even just looking at like the writers and directors for each episode, like it kind of is just like a spin the wheel and who's going to write this week and who's going to direct this week. So it does feel not like the characters are inconsistent, but sometimes there's like better writing in episodes than others, and even just like down to editing and little things, it just sometimes wasn't amazing. But I think as like a finale for this show of Dexter, I mean I guess this would be, I don't know. I think it's if this is like the last season we get, this is a much better place to end off than season 8 of the original show. So yeah, I mean it's hard to recap like 10 whole episodes in a minute, but I think generally positive. I'd say generally positive. Yeah,
that's good. Okay, so we got those out of the way. So yeah, obviously not much non-spoilers thoughts. I imagine most people that are listening to this have seen the episode, so that's why we're just getting in right now. So we're going to take our first break. So if you have not seen it, if you're working or you're waiting, you can listen to this first 6 minutes, our initial thoughts, and come right back. And after this break, the gloves are off. So I don't want no tweets. I don't want no messages. I don't want, Travis, you spoiled that you killed Luke Skywalker a year later. I don't want any of that. So we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. So we talked about this a lot in each review about what route is this show gonna go, because they would leave it open and maybe like make it very closed-ended, like kind of went back and forth. Now, I am very happy that we have a definitive end of this character. This is it's done. Michael C. Hall is done. This show is done as we know it. And again, I don't think it's perfect how we got there, but it's a much better place than we left him driving into a hurricane on a boat and becoming a lumberjack. And Al was very fitting, and I was very happy when we were going that route. Now, do I still think some things near the end were very rushed? Yeah, and there's still even some characters I have some questions about. But at the end of the day, I think the show is still more about it's more about Dexter, right? It is about Dexter. There's other people around, but who do we care about? And they answered all that. And I said last week we had a bet going in, and I said that he was going to be caught or killed, and we kind of got both of that. And I think this was the episode I think I always wanted to happen. I always wanted everything to be laid out on the table. Again, I think this episode could have been about an hour and a half. We could have chewed on a bit more, but still, if this was it, I was very satisfied with the kind of, now the world will, I would assume after he's dead, know that he was Bayard Butcher, and he's going to be 6 feet under, no pun intended, to his past. But I was pretty thrilled with the ending overall. I have little problems, but I was pretty thrilled with getting caught, getting killed, and Harrison looks to be on to a new life,
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that this could have been at least half an hour longer of just the fallout, actually seeing Batista there and
Yes.
interacting with something. I think that was a bit of a con for me with the whole ending. I was really happy with the scene overall between Dexter and Harrison. I thought that was really touching. It was really, I really didn't know where it was gonna go at the start of it, and I liked that about it. There's suspense there, and I just didn't really know what was gonna happen. So all that was really good. But I was a little torn because I'm oh, we're not getting this court scene of him just actually being the light on him, and this is the evil. No one's gonna, or at least from his point of view, that's never really gonna happen, right? So a bit of a con there, but you can't please everyone, and I'm glad that they did go this route. Although maybe I have have a bit of a con to bring up there, but I'm still, I think I'm most upset that Batista didn't actually get there and interact with him. I just wanted to see Dexter's, because when Angela brought up Batista in the interview scene, that was so, it just got me going. And then we never actually got that face to face that I thought was coming. So I think that was a bit of a con there, but.
And when she called him, I was like, man, it's happening. He's like, I'll be there in the morning. I think it's tough because they want him to escape. But I still think the writers could have figured out a way to have that scene and then maybe Batista just be gone for a second or something, and then all hell breaks loose and everything. But I want to ask Taylor, because even as early as this morning, he said, boys, season 2 of Dexter, I feel it. Or maybe it was yesterday morning. And how you feeling now?
Season 1 of Harrison.
Yeah, how you feeling now? At least with Dexter Morgan, unless he's going to be a ghost. Dexter he is now long gone from this earth.
Well, you never know. You get season 2 with Harrison, and what does he have? A dark passenger who's Dexter Morgan talking like Deborah was. So you never know.
Do you actually believe that though, or are you just spinning wheels?
I mean, money speaks volumes, so we'd have to wait and see. But as far as it goes, I agree with what you said, Kirklin. I think probably the most cons I have throughout the season are stemming from this episode. And I think the scene we got of Dexter having his out was perfect. Like I enjoy him being, it happened. He got killed off and he was executed by Harrison. I think it was just that was a perfect send off of the way no one else should have done it except for Harrison. I feel like so, not even nature. So, I feel like.
Do you agree with this? You're pitching Harrison. Sazzy says no one watching a show called Harrison, and that's where I want to push back on you because you're right. Because if people don't know, we talked about this a few weeks ago. The Dexter viewership was like 60% bigger than anything Showtime had, and we were like, oh, what they gonna do? But for me, I feel like they established that Harrison is not him. Like what we talked about the whole season, that he's had some traumatic stuff happen to him. But from last week of him seeing Kirk get killed and him freaking out, and they did exactly what I wanted, what I've been calling for. You can go back to my Dexter retrospectives of they had him be the character, point out that no, you're the problem, you're the bad, like all these things that you can try to justify it all, but you need to either be arrested. And Dexter's such a selfish guy. He's like, I'm not getting arrested, so you're gonna have to kill me. And he's like, well, I guess I'm gonna kill. Like I love that it put the spotlight of like, yeah, we were cheering for him, but at the end of the day, he's a sick guy. He needs to end, especially when he killed Logan. Ooh,
I agree. I didn't like the Logan part. That really distraught me. But no, I agree. Like again, it's mostly just me memeing about a whole season 2 at this point with Harrison and all that stuff. But I mean, you never know money. But no, I think that with Dexter being killed off by Harrison, it's fitting. Again, like you said, Kirkland, the whole dynamic of not getting Batista and having that satisfying moment really is a big con for me in this episode. Why even throw that into the mix? Like, I feel like it was just a little bit of hype, and I guess it adds to the story and the dynamic. Like, hey, the Bay Harbor Butcher is going to happen. Like, everyone's going to know about it, and she's using it as leverage over Dexter to make him compromise, which it worked. I just feel like it's just unfortunate that, along with many other things throughout the season, will not be followed up with.
Because she could have name dropped Batista. Like, I'm glad he got the call, and David Zazas, he's getting some money for this episode. Great. Like, I love Angel Batista. Any content, I like that we know that he's married and he seems like he has a good life and stuff. But she easily could have said like, oh, I'll just call Batista, and he could have that same look, right? So they did kind of, to me, set us up. Oh, Batista's coming, But he did get there.
I do want to quickly say before I pass it off to Dylan, the call with Batista when he's like, I'm hope I didn't give you the wrong impression, happily married. It just felt like, oh, this is classic Batista just popping in.
100%. So, Dylan, what do you think about now? Gloves are off. You can say anything you want about Dexter Morgan, Jim Lindsay's end here.
Yeah, well, I'll say since I started watching the show like a week and a half ago. I was holidays. I was chilling at my parents' place, just relaxing hard, and I saw like on their TV, Dexter New Blood was there. I was like, oh, okay, I'll check this out. And then I kind of like binged most of the show up until this is the only episode I've watched like live when it came out. So I think I was doing a lot less speculation as to what is gonna be like how this season's gonna end, and I also was thrown off because I thought episode 8 was the last episode, and I was like, holy shit, this is the worst ending I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It's like there's at least 3 major storylines not closed off right now. And then I like Googled it, it's like, there's only 8 episodes. I'm like, what the fuck? That is the worst ending ever. Anyway, and then I was kind of like, oh wait, there actually is 2 more episodes. Okay, we're good to go. I think I wasn't speculating as much, and I think just going through the season, I was thinking like, oh yeah, they could keep going with this, like this could be a season 2 thing. But I hadn't really like deeply thought about it. I think had I had those conversations with you guys on the podcast, I would have been thinking about that more in the back of my head. But
on the episode 1 review, we spent a whole half an hour talking about if Harrison was real or not, because he sees ghosts. And first episode, Harrison doesn't interact with a single person. So like, oh no, he's probably not even real. And luckily that was not the case. So
there would have been a lot to speculate on. So yeah, no, I mean, I think the finale or the ending, like the end point now, is really good for all the reasons you guys said. I also loved the use of the note as something that he alludes to many times throughout the season, and how that was kind of the impetus for him coming up here. And then you finally get to hear the note. I thought was a great ending, great send off, and obviously we want to hear Michael C. Hall's like just kind of narration as we like say bye to the show that we've watched now for like over a decade, even though obviously there's a long break in there, or I don't know, 15 years. Like when did the first season come out? It's probably 2008 or 7.
2006.
That's crazy. So yeah, it's been a long time this show's been going. So yeah, I think the ending was great, and yeah, all the dialogue there. Like I've definitely had some issues with Harrison's acting throughout this season, but not in that moment, and not even in this episode. I thought he nailed this episode. So I think obviously that was the time to get it right, and he definitely delivered. I want to talk about Angel at some point. Just putting that out there.
Oh, do now, because I don't know what else there much is to say on him other than I love Batista.
I guess just what did you guys think of the way he was used back in like episode 5 or 6, whatever it was? I don't remember what episode, but what was your guys' consensus? Because I haven't listened back to your reviews.
I liked it, even though it was like very convenient that she would just happen to bump into Batista, and he would be so open with everything, like all this the time. And he lays out the entire plot of the show, like, oh, I was married to the ex-captain who also thought this guy killed him, Dexter Morgan. Like he's there for exposition, but I think it's kind of like Taylor said, that just because I still think he, like, not that Batista's a huge hard role, like Angel's like a pretty basic character, but he has like a certain charisma about him, and I liked it's kind of, we speculated like if they've revealed he's the Bay Harbor Butcher, how much is that going to happen? I did think we were going to get more of it when they brought Batista back in. So again, I can't agree that it is kind of a con that we didn't see more fallout of it, because I've been saying the whole season that James Stokes needs redemption. This whole man, for 10 years, his family has thought that his, like, someone's son was the Bay Harbor Butcher. For the past 10 years, Dexter's framed this poor man, and I would have loved to, like, justice for Dokes, but he's gonna get it.
I love that they showed that scene with
when they brought him up in this episode. I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna clear his name. This is like, we're gonna get that satisfaction, which you might have been able to get with an extra half an hour, right? I don't know, like kind of an epilogue sort of deal. That's what I was wanting.
Well, so yeah, I mean, I obviously when I first saw, going back to episode 5 or whatever it was, when Batista shows up, like at first I was like, oh sweet, like I love this guy, I remember this guy, but yeah, that whole sequence was like just so poorly done to me, like for the reason you're saying, like the coincidence of it, like okay, this chief is going down to this other city to check in on this very specific hotel, and then conveniently in the conference hall there is this, he's speaking, and then
the guy that could link her and Dexter together.
And then even just that whole talk that he's having is the stupidest thing ever, because he's talking about like, in crime, you got to look out for patterns. Killers always have patterns. And it's like the most elementary level thing. And then the chief's like, oh, that's a great point. I'd never considered that serial killers have a pattern or a sign. Or it was really, really poorly done to me. So I guess I wasn't as hopeful that him and Dexter would see each other. It would have been a cool scene, but I don't feel, I mean, hot off watching this episode 10 minutes or 20 minutes ago, I don't feel like I missed out on that as much as you guys did. So
I guess the only reason is because, like, and I always compare it because, like, Breaking Bad's my all-time favorite show, and there was that moment when everyone finds out Walter White and you have that fall, and we never got that with Dexter, where not like you had select people, but you never got that fall out of, oh, this guy you've known for years is a killer. And I would have loved the same way he talked about as like, hey, once she started talking, he finally, everything that other characters, Dokes, LaGuerta, had told him in the other seasons, that he was like, I don't know, I don't buy it, it's Dexter, we love Dexter. I would have loved to seen that rage of him finally putting together of all these people, and they kind of had Harrison do that earlier, but I wanted the weight of someone from Miami confronting him finally. But again, it's tough because, like, you want that they're going, I think, for a very, like, adrenaline-filled episode. Like, we want to be quick, we want to make it on the run, and that's where, like, I want to point out Zaz said, who cares about Logan? First of all, we all loved Logan here, so there you go. But second of all, the reason I care and why it matters in this finale is it represents how desperate and why he is the bad guy. Because the whole, like, number one rule of the code is don't get caught. When the show starts, that's just like, oh, Dexter just has to be safe. But then it progressed and evolved to, oh, I'm going to kill LaGuerta, who's a completely innocent person. And that's where back in season 7, I liked where it was going because like, oh, we're finally starting to admit, yeah, he uses this as a crutch. He is a bad person. Where they eventually ignored that and he bumped into other killers and he was just a hero again. This was good because when he wasn't trying to kill Logan, but he still did it. He still killed this really innocent guy who the whole season we've given no reason to dislike. He's not been shady. He's even looking after his son while he's in prison. And the fact that Dexter just cold blood murdered him and left him and was pretty chill about it when he told Harrison like, I had to do it. What did he say? He said he wouldn't comply. Like he sounded like a robot.
He wouldn't cooperate.
Yeah, he would cooperate, and that's where it's like again. I thought especially the back half did a good spotlight of he kind of needs to be put down or like he definitely does, but he can't control himself even when he says like you're the passenger. It's not that you have a dark passenger. The thing's driving, and I thought all that stuff was great.
It's funny too because in episode 1 I mentioned that Logan just felt like a nice Dokes, a nice replacement for Dokes, and he was a nice Dokes throughout the entire season. Basically, he met his fall directly from Dexter, I'd say. So it's the pattern there, but this time like I was actually rooting for this guy, whereas Dokes I just saw him as a villain because
He's a bit
early
more
on in the
naive
show.
than Dokes. I mean, let's not compare them in that
no,
way. I mean,
well, that's yeah, I'm putting them in similar categories. Maybe not the same, but that's
The
what I
less
thought of.
vulgar Dokes. He's not shouting
Less
fuck
vulgar.
Dokes would have gave him water. Dokes
he's a
would've
high
been-
school. Yeah.
Even though it is funny, like
Retrospective.
one of the ways Dexter took out Dokes is Dexter had Dokes locked up and he gave him water that it was drugged to knock him out and everything like that. Don't forget, Dokes actually died because the building blowed up. So that's what we've been through at Dexter at times. But
Right, and it was a
Yeah.
female, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Lila.
It wasn't even Dexter.
Lila, yeah. I guess I think the character of Logan was so well done, and it makes the ending so much more believable because that they spent so much work on the relationship between Harrison and Logan. Yeah, it's not like they just had this moment at the end where he brings them like food. It's like we've seen that for like I think maybe episode 3 onwards. Just like every episode, you're probably getting a scene or two where they're building their relationship in some way. So yeah, I think that was really well done, and that was such a great character. Like you really only needed the 2 people from the police department. The rest of them, they're kind of just there. But
Teddy.
but yeah,
Teddy.
they did a great job with Logan. He was such a crucial addition to the season, and I think they got that so right.
And even like the tension between Logan and Dexter in the police precinct that we got a little bit of when he initially like interrogated him, but this has just turned up to a whole nother level where he's like not even like feeding into anything that Dexter is trying to like be a smooth devil with. He's just treating him like a what are they called?
convict or suspect. Or
Suspect.
whatever.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
he's
the
treating him
word.
like he's never known him for the past 10
exactly.
years or whatever.
And it was intense because I just watched like the early episodes where they're super friendly when he was talking about his relationship with Molly. Like those scenes were so like comedic,
Yeah.
and then you take those same people that were in that lighthearted setting and put them in this like super intense. Oh, it was bone chilling at moments.
And it sounds like because me and Emily just watched a couple like Netflix like true crime documentaries over the holidays, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this killer's friend was somebody, but when he was on the run or had to do it, oh, he just took them out like nothing. And that's what this was, where Dexter knows this guy is a good guy, but he just dispatches of him like he is a criminal. Like, and that's what I loved of again when. Even last episode, we had Harrison be like, oh, like you didn't let Wiggles go. Like he slowly put together the same thing with Coach. Like you called me on his phone. Who's that blood and everything like that. Like he put it together. Like he's a smart kid and everything like that. So yeah, Taylor, what do you think about Logan's ending? And I actually thought at one point they were setting him up like when Dexter was in prison or killed, he was going to like adopt Harrison. I thought that's the route we were going. And then his neck just snapped. I was like, oh no, we're off the table there.
I mean, I did really like Logan, and I think it's very sad that he did go out. I mean, I feel like I don't even know the word I would give it. I don't want to say bold, but I don't want to say honorable at the same time, because when he reached for the keys and reached for the gun, I feel like the right thing to do was just give him the keys and then just go from there, because you're not going to be able to do anything. You're literally like an inch away from having your neck snapped, unfortunately. Like you go for the gun. It just sucks. I really like Logan, and it's unfortunate that he died. It really is sad. And like you said, it was just Dexter was just cold about it and nothing in regards to it. And I like how they set up this connection between obviously Coach and Harrison, because it just adds much more weight to why Harrison pulled the gun on Dexter. So
Was anyone actually surprised? So I'm 100% fine with Dexter being killed because I think that was always the way it should have been. As far as the whole show's about death, and he's been killing people and never met his end. It's like, well, he has to die and get taken out. So I feel that I was actually surprised Harrison shot him. I thought Harrison was going to put down the gun or like kneecap him, so he had to go to prison because Dexter was it was such another cold moment of he's like, I need to be with you. And then when Harrison's like, I'm not leaving, and he's like, well, I guess I'm going to go. I really thought Dexter was going to go to jail and say, okay, I'll go if that means I can be with you. But in that moment of flight or fight, he went, no, I still got to leave you, I guess. And I was surprised. I thought Harrison was going to not take him out, but he did. So
I thought he was going to get interrupted by someone, which
Batista.
I mean kind of did happen like a minute later. Wait,
Parachutes in.
That'd be fun. Yeah, just dropping in from the helicopter. How did Angela know where they were?
I don't know.
They're like in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? Like, did
they're
she
where that
follow
deer
the vehicle?
they're where he killed Matt, but why she would know that, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there was something in the episode that would, but I think that's completely.
Because he didn't have I was thinking maybe she tracked Logan's phone, but like he didn't have the phone anymore. I don't think
he had the
right?
cop radio. So if that's anything, because remember she kept calling him and he kept it, but I don't know if Iron Lake has like GPS, But then again, as we learned in episode 2, they just have random cameras all just thrown about in the woods. So maybe that's legitimately. I wonder if that could be it. If they looked at the cameras and they saw Jim Lindsay just running through the woods like a fucking
I don't think it would be that because then, maybe, but then you have that problem where Angela's like, Harrison, no one can know that you were here, and sends him off. So obviously she wouldn't be able to corroborate that if she. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I think you're gonna say the same thing I was about to say.
Well, I mean, I was gonna. Yeah, I guess because it seems to me like one of the big swelling moments of this emotional moment between Dexter and Harrison is that they're building up to this thing where Dexter's giving him permission. He's like, you gotta turn that safety off, and I feel like they're building up this storyline that we've kind of seen this whole season where Harrison wanted to be the hero. And he was in this moment because he killed this guy who's killed hundreds of people.
Yeah.
But if he is just gone with the wind and no one ever knows he was there and he didn't do it, then he doesn't really get. Maybe he gets that internally, but he doesn't get that in the view of society. So I don't know. I don't think that's exactly what you were going to say. But I also think about that. Does that seem like a weird thing for them to build up and then? I mean, I guess he is a hero to himself, so maybe that's all that matters.
I think with the last shot being him smiling, I think that's was like when you said it's internally, I think that's it. Because even the way the last line of the show is, I should die so my son can live. I mean, he's kind of putting that together of, okay, he had that note. Hannah unfortunately died. He found his father. And every question he had, he got a lot more than he wanted. But still, every question he had about his his father, he found out about. So now I feel like he can make a life for himself. Now, I feel like it's going to be a very tough life. And my whole thing was, why is Angela telling him he needs to run? Like, why? You could say anything. Like, it's self-defense. Like, whatever. I don't know. I was very surprised she told him.
I feel like self-defense would have made complete sense, and she would have been able to swing that.
She pulled the 10 and was just like, get out of here. And I was like, oh, I thought I didn't expect her to adopt him or something. But
probably just wanted him away from her daughter. But
100%.
in all reality, I think it's honestly like she does care about him. And if you keep him around and you let the media get into that whole mess, I mean, it's just going to ruin his life. At least this way he can go off and he can literally start fresh, try and become something better, right?
He's already a freak, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, what happens? You come out like, I'm the son of the Bay Harbor Butcher. I mean, your life is going to be ruined.
That's on his Tinder profile page.
Hey, there might be some people into that. Watch the Ted Bundy documentary. But I thought our only chance of seeing Batista was like they're going to be filling up at a gas station. They're going to maybe bump into each other or something because I don't know, just because Batista was on his way, but he wouldn't like that.
Just in the luckiest moments.
Well,
look at crossing paths with Angela.
And
you kind of look like someone. You kind of look like Dexter. Just pulls that one out of that.
So I'm interested for the people. I want to throw out some comments here because the people that say to John here, terrible ending, Nick is what the F was that? I want to legitimately ask and tell me in the chat, do you prefer this to the original ending? Because I feel as someone like myself, obviously I like this ending a lot, but I feel like even if you don't like this ending, if you're saying, okay, you're going to have this guy who goes into a storm and he comes out a lumberjack, or this ending where he's shot by his son, who has every right to kill him, I feel like it's better there, but Congo Blue also says, hi, I'm from Australia. So disappointing ending. Shit ending.
Well, these people in the chat, I'm curious, did you think this whole season was bad and the ending's also bad? Or do you think the season was great, and then just the ending was bad. Because
Yeah.
if you didn't like the season in general, then I can totally understand why you think this would be a bad ending. But I don't know, if you want it to just be the same thing and like he just escapes again and then we pick up the show another decade later, I don't know.
Well,
I
like-
just feel like why would we do that storyline again?
Even part of me that understands like the logistics of that just probably wouldn't make sense. Like Michael C. Hall, it most likely isn't wanting to just do this for like seasons going forward. Like I
He
feel
hasn't
like
aged
okay, he's back to end it. So me knowing that it's very unlikely that's happening, still moments in this episode I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna escape to Los Angeles and we're gonna get another season. This is gonna be awesome. But I was just kind of lying to myself because I was hyped to watch it.
Oh yeah, Caitlin says the ending was better than him ending on trial. See, I wanted the trial ending because I never said this to these guys, but for Clyde Phillips, the original director, when he was not doing the show, when he's taking care of his wife, they asked him, "Hey, what was the ending you would have wanted?" And he said his ending was he was going to have Dexter in the electric chair, and before they go to or whatever lethal injection, before they go to do it, he looks at like the witness room, and it was all the people he had killed, like Trinity, Miguel, but Rita, like LaGuerta, everybody, and they kind of did, I feel like, a tribute to that ending where he saw them all before they died. But this was literally they're gonna have ghosts of them. So I did kind of want the trial, like look at all these people sort of ending. And this is what I can't wait to see the reaction tomorrow, because at least our chat people are not happy with it. And I'm so on the other side of it where I do feel it is rushed, but I'm very happy with where we are because again, and someone said that they found that line cheesy of Harrison saying "open your eyes," but for me, I thought that was justified. I think it's still rushed, but it is like look at all. I think him finally seeing him kill an innocent person like Logan, put it together of okay. Again, even when Dexter hugged him, he's like, we can go out there and make a difference. But it's just like, that's not why you want to do this, dude. Like, that's one reason so you don't get caught. It's a little better. But, yeah, it's interesting. Where do you guys want to go next?
Well,
sorry.
I guess for me, in terms of a trial, I don't know. Maybe that scene could have worked. But to me, that just doesn't really feel like Dexter. Like, I don't know if we've ever seen a courtroom in this show ever. Like, there's
Other
a lot
than
of
when
time in the
Dexter-
precinct and stuff, but
Yeah.
we never really see trials and stuff. I don't know if that would be, maybe that'd be like a good as a finale or something, but I feel like maybe this is the opportunity to do something a bit more unique than that, which we've maybe seen in many other movies and shows before.
So a lot of people, you were calling out Dylan in the chat. A lot of people are saying, you know, Nick Izzo liked the season, but was definitely one of the worst episodes. The season was good, even the first half. Final episode was okay. Back half was rushed as hell, made no sense. And I think that's one thing that most people are saying, even us that like the episode.
People are heated about this finale, that's for sure.
Yeah, in our chat. So like and subscribe. You go back. We did all the other episodes, but I think that's with this finale too. Is just it is rushed, and I don't know why. Especially when they look at the ratings, I feel like they'll feel a little kicking themselves. Like they did very well. It was I guess 60% for better than all Showtime stuff, and I do think lots of stuff. I would like to see in the fall, and I would like to see Audrey find out like, hey. You know, she's like, oh, I'll tell you about Jim tomorrow. I wanted to see that conversation about Jim and about Harrison and stuff like that, you know? So
I think we could have dove more into Angela's stuff too, because for the last, I'd say like the back half of this season, she felt like just really in the background, and like, you know, she was building up her case really quietly. It allowed us to focus more on the Dexter Harrison dynamic, but like, okay, we got the big reveal that she did do a lot of digging. She did have a lot of information on Dexter by this episode, but I think if we just had more time to dive into that sort of stuff, we could have, I don't know, just because I felt like in the beginning of the season, I really liked Angela, and then I really fell out of love with her as the season went on. And then by the end, it's like, oh, she is actually a really smart cop. But then it was just like really, really quickly that I kind of forgot about the character by that point. I don't know if you guys felt the same on Angela.
she seems smart in the finale, though. I thought she did good.
Yeah, no,
acting,
that's what
too.
I mean. No, that's what I mean. But I just kind of forgot about her because she's just been so in the background, like on screen for like 5 minutes, I feel. But
No, I love to see how smart she was and that she put it all together. That someone finally did. I feel like maybe they could have kept Molly around. Like I don't know if they really needed to kill her for effect on anything. Like I feel like going into that room, whether or not Molly's in there, is a pretty like heart wrenching scene for her.
Yeah.
And so
it's
maybe
her
they could have
whole
kept that
life.
character around. So you get more of Angela like communicating with her, and like they can kind of work through it together. Even though obviously only to a certain extent when Molly's just like a podcaster, you know, and not a cop or something. But.
Well, and see, here, I'll throw this to, because Kirklin, you're bringing up her, and I really like this scene. Dev Summer says that she would have zero proof of him being the Bay Harbor Butcher. I actually really like the interrogation scene. I like two things. One, of Dexter when he's on camera, his whole personality and persona. And then when he tells the cameras off and he flips into Detective Dexter mode, he's like, Kurt Caldwell has all these bodies and stuff. But I think the second Batista got there would be a string of too much going on for people to... I think at least the Bay Harbor Butcher case would be reopened. Now, some of that ketamine stuff, some of the needle stuff we've talked about, is it kind of a leap that happened in the show? Yeah, but in the world they're setting up, they set up that she has all this evidence that is very concurrent to the Bay Harbor Butcher stuff. There was proof after Dokes that Bay Harbor Butcher murders kept happening, and they probably stopped, I don't know when, Dexter when he went in that hurricane and stuff. So, Taylor, how did you feel about some of the interrogation stuff with Angela, and how do you feel, like, again, even her ending, her last shot, she's just looking at Jim on the ground. Like, what's... Even I would have liked more time to realize, like, she just spent probably, I don't know, a couple years dating this guy, probably a big thing to get over.
Yeah, I think that her keeping her composure, looking at Jim with her daughter in the house as she's making her plan to go in there. I love the whole setup. I love how, again, the anticipation, because you don't know what's going to happen. When he's looking at the mirror and you see the knives there, I'm thinking, oh shit. And I'm glad
Great
Logan
shot.
busted in and stopped that, because like his hand was moving. I'm thinking, oh shit, he's going to do it. And that again shows, like you guys were saying, like he's a bad guy. Like we're rooting for the bad guy. But when he gets into that like arrested situation, he's being interviewed and convened with by Angela. I love how he's just trying to take control. It just got me like all like giddy, like, oh, he's doing the thing, like he's trying to control the situation. And it's the classic kind of thing you see, like, oh, you're very stressed. And I really liked how he made Angela freak out. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. When she screamed on camera, like, oh, you haven't, your friend's death, you haven't bounced back from that or had time to grieve. And she freaked out and Logan storms in. I love that. It was so well done.
See, I want to say this, Zane, when he says no more Dexter with all his skills, I want to ask the chat, are you guys mad about the quality of the show, or are you mad that there's not going to be a furthering of Dexter? Because I understand, because Harrison had no business pulling that trigger. Who else would pull that trigger? If they come to you and say, okay, we're going to have Dexter no matter what, New Blood, we're not doing any more. And this is why some people, I don't want them to get mad, because I said this to Taylor last week when we were doing our bets. Michael C. Hall and the creator said, we're doing one more season to give him a final ending. They never said anything about spinoffs. They didn't say this is a new show. They said we're giving one more, and that's how I kept thinking, okay, this is the close off. And to me, I think it is fitting. Like, I guess you could have Angela, but if they're going to kill him off or, set him up, I don't think a fitting ending wouldn't be him just on the road escaping, because then everyone would want more. And I think they wanted to close off. Taylor Phil has his hand up of GeekVerse podcast.
Just while the chat fills up with the responses. So Dexter got shot in the leg not too long ago. Now, was he limping at all in this episode? He was moving pretty good, wasn't he?
Quick healer.
Hey, he's quick healing. He just rubbed some snow in there.
But where we want to go, because I posed that to the chat. Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned something like a little bit ago that, and I think that's good too. That now with the syringe evidence, I feel like they can go back and pin all of the killings after the Bay Harbor Butcher days back to him, and I think that's cool because his legacy, obviously, it's infamous, but his legacy will live on, and they'll kind of keep connecting things back to him, and I think that's cool. So I haven't not watched any season 1 through 8 in a decade or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone currently in prison that Dexter framed that would be exonerated because of this?
No, it would have been
kill
Dokes.
Everyone.
Yeah, he killed because Dokes was the plan was to frame Dokes for years, and then he was just gonna live his life. But Lila killed him because she had to free Dexter.
But then, like, a lot of stuff happens after that for like.
Yeah, but no,
seasons,
everyone got killed. Deb got killed. Like, I think there's some people like Quinn that expected Dexter was shady, but he never like cared to put up much of a case and stuff like that. And Dave Mean says, I don't think he needed a cop. Go back a couple minutes, and I explain why I think he needed to kill a cop. But no, he wouldn't. There's no one to really collaborate the story. But I think that's where, I guess for us, even though I think we need more time, I think that's why I guess they brought Batista in this episode at all, because he could be, I was there for all the Bay Harbor Butcher, and I could put together that Dexter was. Kind of like we talked about, though. Dexter's dead, so it's not gonna matter to him. He's not gonna,
It's gonna be pretty shitty when like Rita's two of their kids kind of see this.
Yeah, Master and Cody.
What the fuck? Yeah.
What are they doing these
They're
days?
gonna be like, they're living with Paul's parents in Orlando.
Oh, not Paul. Oh,
Jeez.
God.
And what was this? Someone, I really want to know why for some people. If you believe this, again, worse ending than 8, that's hard to do. I just don't.
No
I'm
way.
just not on that bandwagon. This guy literally drove into a
way.
hurricane on a boat, and now from this season we learned that he didn't fake his death. He survived hurricane, thunder, lightning strikes, swam to shore, and then became a
He is
lumberjack.
superhuman. There we
Yeah,
go.
and then became a lumberjack and didn't say anything, and everyone was pissed about that. So if you're mad that he's dead, I get it, but the guy deserved it. You know, he was killing innocent people. You know, it's yeah, it was tough. So what we talked about? We talked about
Well,
yeah, go
a couple,
ahead,
yeah, a couple things we talked about. Yeah, him killing Logan, and I mean, to me, there was just this season just had such a demonstration of Dexter losing control and just being super unhinged. Do you want to bring this comment?
Oh
up,
no,
or-
I'm just saying that I'm agreeing with that about that. I think lots of people are just mad that Dexter's dead and there's no hope. It's over, you know.
There's so much going on in the chat. I'm not used to it. It's hard to like parse through all of it. So I'm trying to keep up. Thanks for watching. But yeah, I think that like there's so much examples of him just being super unhinged. Like obviously with the drug dealer, just like drugging him in broad daylight. Like that's just one example. But I think even just him in the cell yelling at Deb to shut up, or yelling at his imagination to shut up, I think is just a great demonstration of how he just like can't contain it anymore, and he is just on another level. So I think him killing Logan, I mean, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it seemed maybe it was a bit convenient that Logan like put the water bottle there all calmly, but I guess he really wanted the information. So he
Yeah, and that
trying
was
to talk to him.
That was smart, and that's what I loved too. That when I knew, because when he's like, turn the camera off, and he starts talking about Kurt and everything, I'm like, hey, even if he's a Bear Butcher, there's no way he can give this info, be like, hey, could you cut me a deal for, like, I was Bear Butcher, but I got Kurt, right? But I was like, right away, I was like, okay, he wants them out of here, because this cop shop has, you know, the lady secretary, not going to stop Dexter. Teddy, even if Teddy was there, was not going to stop Dexter. There's no way Teddy was throwing down Jim Lindsay. So all
Hell
he had
no.
to do, all he had to do was he was in shock when he got that phone call, too. This is the biggest case of his life, but all he had to do was take out Logan, and it was smart that he just waited for him to start questioning and asking, like, oh, I'd love to know what happened, and boom, took him out, and it was over. And I thought that was very well done, and I liked that. And yeah, I had another train of thought. Someone take the mic. I'm gonna take a drink.
Yeah. You're on a roll there.
What did, someone said in the chat? They said he was going to pin it all on Kurt. He tried that kind of, but he's not going to pin the Bay Harbor Butcher stuff on Kurt. You know, I'm like,
No.
yeah, in Miami, this Kurt guy. But I think that was all smart. I loved the back and forth. He did the same thing with Dokes. He did the same thing with LaGuardia. As far as he has a great story, and the whole, hey, Kurt burned my house, and the reason he did that because he wanted you to find this rod that he set there on purpose. And I like that she even admitted, like, this is probably not going to hold up in court, and obviously had the other files, but same thing with Logan. He said, no, your story is as plausible as his, and it was very smart. It's almost like he had thought, I guess he couldn't have thought about it because he didn't know about the rod. He didn't know the house was burning, but it just shows that he has those cat-like skills on the thinking, even though I agree with Dylan that when he yelled at Deb, it showed, I think this was the first time ever not ever, but you know, he said to Harrison, he's like, oh, I've had some tough situations, but I've got out of them. But this was really bad because, again, something the Bay Harbor Butcher probably hasn't come up for sure, at least in 12 years in his life, and thought, oh, I'm definitely past that. So the fact that somebody's onto it and then Batista's coming in the conversation, that's when he was really starting to lose it. And who knows, maybe if he wasn't losing it, maybe Logan would still be alive. But I think he got so desperate. Maybe if Andrew didn't say a single word about the Bay Harbor Butcher, he wouldn't have killed Logan because he would have thought he could have got out of it. But she just had, I think she just was like so pent up of anger. And I forgot to mention, Taylor, when you were bringing up that knife scene when great shot. There's the microwave. You see the reflection of Angela behind him. There's the knives right there. And his hand moves a little bit. One, it shows we talked about every episode. He says that he loves her. Clearly just fake. He was just saying that. Like, he still probably likes her, but he was ready to knife her down if it came to it.
Well, he acknowledged that too in this episode. Like, he's never loved
the very
anyone
end,
except Harrison.
Yeah, and Deborah. He said that before. And
Yeah.
he found out he loved Rita after she died, so that was a little late there, Dexter. And I imagine Hannah. So there's a couple other people. He's fudging the numbers, but either way, I loved that plan of that Logan was there waiting, because who knows how that was gonna go down for poor Harrison and Audrey to come back. Like, I would love to see Dexter trying to like explain, like, oh, Kurt came in and he got in a fight with Angela and stuff like that. But go ahead, Kirklin.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, I think from like that initial arrest, I was just so like trying to figure out where it was gonna go, because right off the hop, it's such like a terrible arrest. Like, okay, you only have Dexter would never kill Logan.
I mean, he
killed
did.
LaGuardia.
A few people have commented that. I'm like, did you watch
LaGuardia,
seasons 1
who's
through 8?
completely innocent. This is where
You
you got to
guys think
rewatch the
Dexter
show.
is a
And he
good
was gonna
guy?
frame Dokes. He was gonna frame Dokes, a innocent man. He's killed innocent people before. You know, you just got to remember that. Oh, boy.
Oh,
And okay,
jeez.
here's the thing. People I know in the chat, I've seen the show. They're gonna say, "Well, Deborah shot LaGuardia actually," but literally Dexter said, "You either got to kill me or kill LaGuardia." Like, if Deborah didn't do it, Dexter was gonna. So sorry, Kirklin. I had to point that out because he has killed innocent.
Oh, it's all
people.
good. You're doing you're doing good service. I was just where was I even going? Oh yeah, so the initial arrest, it was just so like circumstantial of like, okay, they have a single screw and that's the only evidence that's tying like these two people. So right off the hop, I'm like, okay, this isn't gonna go well. And then we got to see just Dexter being like a super manipulative psychopath, which was just awesome because we haven't really got that since like the earlier days of Dexter. So that was really bone chilling. And then when more stuff just got like revealed in that interview, it was just building up, and then it gets to a point where Dexter like gets her to turn off the camera, and then he lays out like a really, really personal case to Angela, like something that would actually make her like stop what she's doing in that instance to go find all these missing women. It was just such a roller coaster ride, like in that stretch of like interviewing from the arrest, and it was that was chef's kiss for me.
Yeah, as I catch up with the chat too, people saying, "Is he really dead?" No, he's dead. As Sky Sock says, I don't know many people shot
He was
in the heart
twitching.
and
He was
lived.
twitching. Yeah.
This was very much. I won't say what movie, but there was a movie we reviewed this year that shows a character clearly dies, like dies, and it's like this is for all the fans to say, "Hey, this person's not coming back. It's over for them. It's over for Dexter." And that's the thing where like there's no, and that's where I think there is, as I see some people, it is definitely people disappointed, and I get that because season 8 ended, and it sucked, but we always went, well, they could always do more, right? And they did do more. And I guess it's also with some people, if you don't like Harrison, I liked Harrison for the most part, so I understand as far as people saying, oh, I wish we got another solo season of Dexter, but they did right off the hop, episode 1, introduce Harrison, right? So we were set up for that. And again, I think we touched upon it a bit, but I like that Harrison, as somebody that wanted him not to be a killer, I like that was the reaction where he even said, I thought I wanted to be like you, but I realized I didn't. To their GeekVerse podcast.
I just want to throw out now when Dexter was in jail and he just screams at Deb, enough. And then he asks for water after, and Logan still thought he was like relatively maybe decent because Logan would have heard him screaming and talking to himself if he could hear
I'm
him ask
never
for water.
certain if Dexter's actually making noise in those.
He's not. Yeah,
You don't think so?
We've talked about this. Remember all the way back at in episode 3 when he was yelling in the truck at Deborah and the waitress saw him and we were like, did she see him yell or did she just see Jim? I think everything that happens when he saw somebody else is in his head. I don't think Logan actually heard him yell because if he's just yelling in the cop shop, I think Logan would be like, oh man, something's really wrong. So I think all that's in his head. I think they kind of confirm that. So. What if Dexter isn't dead? You guys got to accept it, man. It's over for Dexter. He's done.
I think that's, again,
They're grieving.
Yeah, they're grieving. This is them grieving, and it's unfortunate because I'm
Grieve
with
our
you
chat.
guys. Like,
Grieving's welcome.
I really wanted Harrison to like shoot off to the side and be like, Dexter, I never want to see you again. Get out of here. Like, just go, and like him
Smacks
just like
him in the face.
yeah, just like I feel that's the kind of like ending I would want. I would love more seasons, sure enough, but like it's hard to accept this. It is.
And I'm with Chris Wilson, though, where I still wish we had one more episode, and I wish Harrison put the gun down or kneecapped him, and we did get, and even like Dylan said, either be a finale, or even if it's just the last 50 minutes, or like Kirklin said, the epilogue, like that, where it's just what would happen. We see Dexter with some old age makeup. He has the shaven head. Well, I guess they don't do that with lethal injection. They don't need to shave the head like the electric chair. And I thought it would have been fitting if he did get expedited back to Miami. I thought that would have been really cool of where it all started and ended. I will say I love that this episode, the very first time we saw Dexter / Jim in the season was him running after that buck. And before he sees his son, he's running again through the woods and everything. He looks a lot worse this time. He's covered in blood. He's looking bad. But I love that parallels of, he was running for this hunt. He's running for this deer that he didn't kill. And again, we're talking about the jail cell scene. What I've talked about this whole season where he always makes this excuse. Deborah says that. she goes, oh yeah, you always thought the killing or the problem was not killing. Where'd that get you? And it shows if you replay this whole season and he doesn't kill Matt and Harrison shows up, there's a chance him and Harrison connect, create a relationship, and he has a life with Angela and Aubrey, and he didn't have to kill Matt. And that's it. He would have been living, and all this could have been fine. But he needed to get. He just couldn't help himself, right? There's lots of things that built up to in the pilot, but I think that was the show kind of saying like, yeah, Dexter's a cool character, but again, killing's not the answer. That's not the route you want to go. Look at where it's gone this guy, and
You don't think he would have discovered something with Kurt?
he could have, but I don't know if he would have been like this, where he could have helped Angela put some things. Again, like we talked about the drug dealers, what could he just do? Pick up the phone, tell Angela this stuff, tell
That's
Logan.
not the Dexter MO.
I know, but that's why for me, I'm happy he died because he did it to himself.
Yeah.
He's a selfish character. He had to go down this route where season 8 was, oh, he got away with it and he's living alone. And it's like, yeah, he's sad, but he didn't happen. So, so Harrison, go ahead, Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a comment from earlier from Matt's96. I don't understand why they built up Harrison's Dark Passenger only for him to do a 180 in 2 minutes. I want to get your guys' take on that, because to me, I feel I could definitely see where you're coming from, but I also feel like there was enough built up that makes me think that it wasn't just like in that last 2 minutes, but we've kind of seen that. I think particularly last episode, when Dexter stabs Kurt and the blood is like approaching Harrison's feet, and obviously he goes outside to get some air, and then he's kind of saying like, oh yeah, like I'm feeling good, the dark passenger subsided and all that. But I guess I didn't really believe that when Harrison was saying that, and just like the acting in that moment and him not being able to handle what he was seeing there, having to go outside get some air, to me was some good reason. I think also I think that once again, going back to the Logan thing that we've mentioned 100 times now, but that is like a layer too far, and I feel like maybe Harrison is seeing what he would become if he goes down this path. And if he follows in Dexter's footsteps, he would know what he'd become. And he's spent like this whole season building up these relationships with not just Logan, but Audrey. Which one is it? Audrey, right? Yeah, building up like a relationship like that, and just knowing that he doesn't want someone to die. Like for example, his mom, Rita. He doesn't want Audrey to die in a way that Rita did because of his actions. So to me, it's not just a 180 in the last 2 minutes. Like I feel like they built up enough of it, but I can definitely see where you're coming from. Where do you guys stand
I think he was kind of on the fence until like he starts to realize like the reality of what's going on, and then he kind of like, maybe it's just like the first initial death that he's like seeing in front of him that's like really shaking him. But like from that point on, he still seems to be game, right? Like he's down to just ditch town with his dad until he realizes that his dad maybe did some things that were like hurting the innocent. And I think that was like the final straw that broke the camel's back. And like just the inkling of the dark passenger and the fact that he was so set on being game for it if it was for the righteous reasons, like, okay, we're gonna save all these people. That's why part of me was like, oh my god, okay, I don't know how I feel about it, but I think we might actually get Harrison back, and it would be a lot more focused on a Dark Defender route, because it would be like a fun nod to like him being a vigilante anti-hero, but it would be a lot more maybe on like the good moral side of what Dexter was, like not actually fucking murdering people. But it's tough to say. I think that was just sorry.
You want the show to be Tom C's pitch if they do a Harrison spinoff here?
I'm not saying that. It's just in the moment while I was watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna get away, and that's what they're gonna advertise. But
well, no matter what, Tico points out. So Harrison kills his father. Now he'll be normal. Doubt it. He's gonna end up more messed up. 100%, but there's different types of normal. This is a guy who could maybe have to have some medication, have some help, versus a guy on the streets taking out criminals and murdering them, chopping them up. And I think that showed again what they're hitting. And this is where I'll say with Dylan, because I was all over the map. I've said since the show ended, I never really want Harrison to be a killer because I just thought it was kind of cheesy. It's kind of for the show that at times was realistic, just to be like, oh, it also happened. And in the earlier seasons, they kind of retcon it. He goes to therapist, and they're like, yeah, he's so little, he wouldn't have like recalled any of this that happened to him. Like, because the kid is like under a year old when that happens with Trinity. Like, yeah, this wouldn't happen. Now in this season, they go, oh yeah, I remember it all. I remember Deb's face very specifically, that I drew you this photo. Like, I was happy that it just is what Deb the ghost was talking about, how Terry should have got you help, therapy, something else, not making you into this weapon. And that's what Harrison needs, and I think he'll know that. He's probably gonna have to leave out a few details when he sees a therapist and whatnot. But I think that's where it shows that Deborah's saying, "Hey," and maybe it won't work, but hey, Harry was wrong to teach you all this. And again, people, season 2, they confirmed Harry was wrong because Harry, he went to a kill scene. Dexter's like, "Oh yeah, I got this guy that you couldn't catch. Come here." Harry saw it, threw up, and then killed himself the next week. Why? Because he realized the same thing. Oh yeah, I took the wrong path. I shouldn't have done this with him. So I think the show was setting us up for even Harrison was thinking about it, thinking this could be the right way. And like Kirklin said, when it was more the Batman justice way, oh, I'm down. But when it's, oh, you can, like, don't get caught means kill anybody and be reckless, that's not anything I want. And like Dylan, something we talked about this last week, when he saw the blood, we speculated, what does that mean? And that's what I thought too, of, okay, he thought he was into it, or he'd be there, and I think he's into the criminal guys getting taken down. But this actual, like, hey, chop them up into 9 pieces and put them in the bags, not so much, you know. So Taylor, Phil, where do you feel about now Harrison? All season he went back and forth as far as Hobo Harrison is going to star with a meager $23 for Angela. 100%. She didn't give him much. That was not a big
No,
podcast.
but he had that envelope of cash that Dexter had
True.
stashed in there.
Fair
so
enough,
he's good.
yes,
I don't know
yeah.
where Dexter gets all this money from, working at this, like, corner store in
He
Oh,
cleaned
yeah.
out
Little
Kurt's
town.
safe though, probably, right? 'Cause Kurt had
He's
tons
Yeah.
of
probably
cash.
legit,
probably.
legit. Well, and even then when they're like, we're going to move to Los Angeles, and he's like, can we get a pool? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, with what money, Jim Lindsay? Like, where are you getting this pool in Los Angeles?
Don't you know there's a drought in, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where he gets all this fucking money from. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Taylor, Phil, where do you feel that we end up with Harrison all season when we were introduced as, oh, he's a normal kid, and we talked about that, where they set up he can form relationships, he can be in love, he can have friends, where Dexter couldn't do that. But then it's, oh, he has a straight razor, he's being friends with Ethan and stuff like that. Where now seems like we've come full circle, and doesn't seem like he's on that road.
If there's one thing the show executed well on, it was all the red herrings, and I feel like Harrison's Dark Passenger is one of those such things. So the whole idea and concept of the Dark Passenger was something I feel like that was mostly just, it was only Dexter referring to it. He was instilling it into Harrison's mindset and kind of making Harrison think like that. That's how I kind of take it. So when we see that comment talking about it was just 2 seconds that the Dark Passenger was executed, resolved, all that mumbo jumbo, I think that that's possibly incorrect, because I don't think it ever existed with Harrison. He was troubled. He didn't fully know what he born in blood, as Dexter calls it. He wasn't fully aware of that until he tuned into the podcast, and then it clicked and it triggered him. He didn't kill anyone, he injured people, but again, like you said, like, he's troubled, he just needed proper help, and he was willing to do the therapy. But then Dexter was the one that was creating the problem, not committing to it to help Harrison recover from that.
Yeah.
So
And
when
he was
you have-
pushing him that way. He's like, yeah, we
He
could,
was.
Like I loved the start of this episode when he's like, he looks around and all the people helping him, picks up his house, and he's like, oh, this is why we're gonna have to move, because they're all good people. And he has this whole plan ready for Harrison. We're gonna leave, we're gonna move, and this is in the midst of him really starting to like this girl. He got this wrestling jacket, and they show the differences of Dexter. Once he was back to killing, he's like full on board, like, oh yeah, we're doing this. I got a partner now. Our Dark Passengers, and Harrison's like our Dark Passengers. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Just, he doesn't want to leave everything behind. Like, he just wants a place to feel like at home and feel like safe. He doesn't know who he is, and he learned that a very rough way. But I just think that everything that in this past few episodes just was kind of showcasing that, okay, the Dark Passenger is not existent in him. He's just a troubled youth. And when we got Kurt being killed, it reaffirmed to him that, okay, he understands that his dad is killing bad people, but whether or not he was actually going to run with that remains to be seen. I do think, like, when he was like connecting with Audrey at that one moment, not on the finale, but prior in the previous episode where they emphasized the switchblade, again, it's a loose herring. I think they're just showcasing these different things just to kind of make you think he was going to turn into Dexter when we got the official revelation.
I like this, that Michael can F55. Now Angela going to chase around Kurt without knowing he's already dead. I think that's funny, but I think she'll put 2 and 2 together that how did Dexter know all this stuff? Because he took him out. But I would love that she's just like,
There's
on
your
the
season
hunt,
2.
on the hunt for Kurt. Yeah, and poor Kurt is dead.
During that scene, I wondered if Dexter was going to mention Molly. I feel like that would have, because I don't know, he didn't really give too many details. Like, obviously he gave her all she needed, but he kind of just gave her like the very basic. But I mean, where is Kurt's body at this point? Is it just
They burned it.
Oh,
Remember they burned it with
right?
Matt.
He did burn it. Yeah.
And they figured that out real quick. And just same thing, like, oh, in Matt's body, you burned it. So apparently, we talked about this in episode 2 or 1. We're like, oh, is that a good place for Dexter to put the body? Apparently not, because Kurt figured it out really quick. And Angela, with a drop of the dime, and I guess she figured out because the rods and they wouldn't melt and stuff like that. But we talked about that from episode 2. But again, I think that goes towards what I was fine with this season was it felt like a Logan-esque, not the Logan character, Logan movie where, yeah, it's Wolverine, but he's at his end days and he's not as good as he used to be. There's multiple times we showed Dexter was not as good as he used to be. He still had some of that skill, but he was constantly screwing up. And same thing with this whole... I feel like he didn't really think through the fire thing. It was just, well, I can do, like, that's such a public place. And we told this before, like, with cameras. So, but I think that works for him. If he was not getting shot by Harrison, which you can like or not like, he was going to get caught. And there was going to be too much evidence, I think, that would pile up on him eventually. So when I decided to be a good person, I shot my dad, says Chris Wilson. Yeah, everyone has their different way of getting to, maybe he'll go find Ethan and apologize to him for ruining his life, because that wasn't needed. So
That's his origin story for his Dark Defender vigilante career. Like, what do you think he's gonna do? Like, he's not just gonna go be an accountant or something. Like, I feel like he's
I love it.
Man.
I wish we would get just the Fallout. I wish we'd get the Fallout episode. Like, Rita's kids come see the newspaper, come forward, and then because Harrison doesn't even know he's got siblings. He doesn't know. He thinks he's the only child.
Well, no, he probably knows, but he's never met them at all, other than when they were 5.
Would he? I don't know, because that's something they didn't address. He knows Deborah's face, but he doesn't know the kid's face.
But I guarantee you, if he goes to search up the Trinity Killer Rita, it would have been like, she left this many kids, yada, yada,
True.
yada.
If he was able to find Dexter in the middle of fucking nowhere with no evidence or any clues whatsoever, I think he'd be able to find like 2 people who are not, presumably not hiding in any way.
And
But
then
I wonder where they're at.
And same thing, Christopher says Angela still didn't have real evidence to arrest Dexter for Matt's murder. And they said that. She even said, like, this was probably not going to stick. But it was more just sound like she was using this as an excuse to hold him there for a little bit so they could get some other dirt on him, And,
she definitely needed a confession, and she was gunning hard
Yeah.
for it.
Well, that's why I thought that, again, like, why it was just so intense was because initially she didn't have anything, really. Like, okay, this one screw that won't hold up in a court. Everybody said that in the episode. And then it just progressed further and further. Because when he first gets to the cop shop, I'm like, okay, is he going to escape or something? I'm like, probably not, because there's no reason to escape now. And then obviously by the end of the setting that is the police station with Logan now with a snapped neck, it was oh yeah, we're definitely going this route. And it was just a total shift of the opening of that sequence. So that was a wild ride.
As I catch up the chat, I see everybody. Deb killed LaGuerra. Yeah, I know. But again, he had her on a table. He was going to kill her if Deb didn't show up that compartment. Don't change it. And even then, people just being like, oh, he was just going to frame Dokes. That's not a good thing. That's still ruining this man's life of putting an innocent guy behind bars and framing him to be the Bay Harbor Butcher. Some of you are just way too much fans of Dexter as a character. And I get it. But you got to understand, he's a piece of shit. He needed to go down. He's a dead guy. So
Yeah. A lot of people in the chat don't seem to understand why Harrison would be kind of fucked up. I feel like there's a lot of reasons why he makes some iffy decisions and doesn't know what he's doing.
yeah.
So I'll just put it out there, and you can put the twos together of why that would be the case.
Well, and apparently he remembers the Trinity killing of his mom. Even then, your mom's just dead. You never met her. That's trauma for anybody. If anybody, I have a friend that lost, and obviously not like Harrison, luckily, but he never got to meet his mom. And that's still something that is very tough for him all the time because his older brother had years with his mom. He was born, and then when he was a year old, his mom passed away. So that's stuff where even if you just lose a parent, and then you also have Dexter, who left him, just straight up left him. And he even said that every day you were gone for 10 years, each day you chose not to be with me. So even take out the serial killer, Bay Harbor Butcher stuff, he has a lot going on. And yeah, I think they set that up well. But again, they set that up as he's not the right path. I want to bring this up before I forget about it, is I really loved when Dexter was shot and killed. The last part of that, of him being kind of alive, was holding Deb's hand. Because, again, for the chat, when Dexter was a hero. Yeah, he was, but he also made some questionable decisions there, Adam. He did take out some innocent people. But calling back to that moment where Dexter/Deborah kill LaGuerta, it's LaGuerta's on the ground and Dexter. And there's a point because he has a knife and he's standing over LaGuerta and he's going to kill her. And he throws the knife away and he looks at Deb and says, do what you got to do. The same scenario he put Deborah in and said, if you have to shoot me, if you have to kill me, then do it. I completely understand. I'm not going to hurt you. So I love that in this moment in his mind, Harrison could do it. He could go through that. He could shoot Dexter and kill him, and he's holding Deborah's hand as like the last thing. And I love that one moment where she like backs away from his hand, and he tries to reach a bit more, and he can't get it. You know, and I feel like that again is more symbolization of, you know, he's alone in this moment. Like he's with Harrison, but you know. So
I was waiting for Dexter to like rugby football charge Harrison, take him down.
Someone said in the chat that they said when he said check the safety, he was going to do that. But no, when people,
I thought he was gonna pull a Han and pull out his blaster and just fucking blast him right then and there.
and
And then maybe you have Angela there that just snipes him, and then that's the perishness of.
Oh
Dexter.
yeah, no, and I was glad it didn't go that route. I didn't want Dexter to be taking out Harrison because again, I think there's, even though his character was starting to become unhinged and go down a route, there still was a line. And like I said, back that original show when it was him versus Deborah, he still chose, if you got to kill me, you can do it. Same thing with Harrison. So I feel like that fits the character. We've seen with the few people he does love, he will say, I'm not going to hurt you, you know? And I would have not liked if he charged Harrison and just like
No,
slit his throat.
definitely not.
I think, I know
That
some of
would've
these
been-
people
Runs
in the
like
chat.
Kurt.
Yeah, gets in his little hut and stuff.
In the
Like, a new
moment, I would've
season
laug't,
10
but
years from now.
Yeah,
Find out
no,
what
I'm
he's
glad that
been
didn't
doing
happen.
The lumberjack ending was very, I don't know about that. But where do we want to go next? Go ahead.
I got
Joe.
one thing. Well, maybe two things, but the first thing, I love the scene of Angela walking through Kurt's lair. I just think like this is traumatizing. She delivered just like the fallout of her getting flashbacks of seeing all these women in their live action settings that she saw in person, and just seeing them all like dolled up and freaky like circus caskets. I don't know.
And I love that because she's been looking at this case for so many years. She knew their names and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And
It's
that's
so
good.
personal for her.
Yeah, it brought it home. That was set up in episode 1. Dexter talks about the board and he says you're going to crack it. And I love in these moments, and that's what I do love about the character where people say like, oh, he saved thousands of lives. That's what I love about Dexter is, you know, one of my favorite quotes on the DVD box art for season 2 is he a good person doing bad things or a bad person doing good things? And that's the Dexter character where even in this moment, he's complimenting her when the camera's off, like, you're a good cop. You always knew something was up. I'm telling you, you were right. This is your ace in the hole. And then 10 minutes later, he's killing Logan in that same precinct, you know? And that's Dexter to a fault where he knows the good people, but if he has to cut them down, he will. And yeah, I thought that scene was fantastic. Unlike The Billionaire, which we did not get any.
Oh
that was
my
my
God.
second point, which I'm excited to talk about.
The
Still can't
Billionaire-
believe.
The Billionaire was that was a full-on red herring. They must have just did that on purpose to make us think for a bit that Kurt was not killing these women. But, you know, unlike The Billionaire, we did get her cold case of the girls all coming home and stuff. So I liked, Teddy's a good shout. The actual scene of her acting, it was good. And, Teddy, again, not a good reaction.
Can you imagine if he's like safety's on, and then it just goes to like someone sniping Harrison way off in the woods, and it's just the Billionaire, and then Dexter and the Billionaire just go off for like season 2. It's like
Edward
what the
Olson. That's his name.
Edward Olson.
Good for Edward Olson.
Yeah.
No, it would have been like, oh, I saw this guy was about to shoot you, and I want him to stop, you know? So
Want some venison?
let's see. When did Dexter become so dumb that he kills Logan and Quinn since Angela was up to something? Well, he killed Logan because he had to get out. If he didn't do that, there's no way. And he was busy with Kurt. He was busy doing stuff, and he's off his game. You know, he's not the classic Dexter he used to be, you know? So he's all concerned about Harrison and Kurt burning down his house now, and
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in like
the.
the second episode when he just kind of in this fit of rage like knocks Matt out, and then you see what happens from there. Yeah, he's just not the same guy. He's not the guy that we saw in season 1 driving around in the dark and very like blue and orange lights of Miami. Like very different guy since then.
And here's, again, the skewed perspective of Dexter fans. But Maria had solid evidence. Angela didn't. Not a reason to kill Maria LaGuerta again. Not another reason with, you know, it's, she. I know people did not like LaGuerta at times, but again, still an innocent person. But Taylor, did you have anything to bring up about the Billionaire? Didn't have, you know.
Well, I mean, we had many theories, and they're all wrong, I guess. So
They weren't brothers with Kurt. You know, he wasn't called out or anything.
Yeah, definitely not. But it's a shame. I feel like there's just so many different storylines that they threw in here just to kind of like derail fans and make you kind of question certain things. I think at its core, it's a waste of time. We should have just used that time for other things. So,
yeah, I'm trying to think what else in this episode.
A lot of people brought this up. That I guess the writers claim that the internet, this is like an internet breaking finale. I will say, from my perspective, I've never seen a GeekVerse live chat with this many people and this many heated debates. So I feel like, yeah, people are pretty heated about this one.
Well, and I think you brought up a good point, Taylor, of like the people in the chat, they are, it's kind of like Endgame where we are grieving together. Because at the end of the day, yeah, I love Dexter as a character. Yeah, would I have been down for more seasons? Yeah, sure, but I'm also down for a better ending than we got. And I think this is better than not getting anything at all. And it does suck that it's going to happen, but I just feel Dexter was always a tragic character that I think one way or another, it was going to be jail or death. No matter whenever the show ended. And that's why I was surprised by the original ending where it wasn't that. And people were mad at that. And I don't know who said, I can't remember, but someone had the good quote of maybe Dexter fans just can't be happy. And that might be it. Maybe there's just no perfect finale.
We're
and
broken
stuff like
too,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, we're just like Harrison. So... let's see. So many plot holes. I don't know if there's plot holes, but there was lots of... Dylan, did you find throughout the season there was lots of convenient, like, Angela searching ketamine and, just right to the Bay Harbor Butcher, or Kurt just being, hey, there was Ash. That must be where you killed Matt. We had some problems with that where it feels like because it was only 10 episodes and we had to get to stuff. And even this episode, I think that's many with plot holes, with Rush. I think this finale has that, where the finale is good overall, but has a lot of, okay, we got to move, which again, like Taylor said, take this whole storyline of Audrey like throwing coffee at the billionaire way, or that scene. Remember when her car broke down and the billionaire like pulled over like, "Hey, you need some help," and he's like being all creepy. We didn't need any of that. That stuff we could have used for a multitude of things.
I think to answer your question, I think there is definitely a lot of little plot holes, or just a lot of coincidences, which you always hate to see. I think maybe the biggest one for me is just like how Angela found them, and we talked about that earlier, but that's really weird to me. And for like the finale, I feel like you maybe need a better reason. So if anyone in chat knows how Angela found them when they were making their escape at the very end, please let me know. But other than that, I don't know. To me, there wasn't really any huge plot holes. Like I guess you could say, if you want more of certain characters, then I could see it that way. Like Harrison. I'm okay with it. I don't think I need to see any more, but at the same time, I am very curious what he's gonna do once he drives down the road for a few hours. Like I don't know what the fuck his life is gonna look like, and maybe that's a problem for some people.
The only thing I could think of that Angela knows how to find Dexter and Harrison would have been, she went to the station, she saw Logan's body, she found the cell phone, and maybe she was able to actually like tap into the call that she saw was made after he died, or like the most latest call to Harrison. So that's the only logical way I can think of.
That'd be some like hacker voodoo. That'd be pretty nice. Yeah.
I guess Adam Waiter said the billionaire was just leftist propaganda. I don't know if it was that. I think it was just like a red herring just to make you think this guy might be a killer because he was all creepy. And again, at least for me and Kirklin, we thought it was Kurt from whenever Kurt was introduced. We're like, well, that's the guy. That's him. Taylor, for like 5 episodes, was trying to pitch that he was not the guy.
I'm still defending him.
I don't remember what episode it was because I kind of binged them all. But yeah, I feel like pretty early on, even when they didn't show his face, it was pretty obvious what they were doing with that.
Yeah, and Zane speaking my language. It's true Dexter's code was a sham for killing people like Dokes and Logan. Dark Driver is more like it. Yeah, and I think that's why some people will not like this episode, because Harrison is calling out that you might like Dexter a lot, but this episode shines a spotlight on him being a hypocritical character, and you might not like that. And again, yeah, he did save thousands of people, but he also says like Rita would have never got killed by the Trinity Killer if she didn't know Dexter Morgan. That was him, because and again, even you want to play that out in season 4, he finds out who Trinity is in episode 4 or 5, and what does he decide? I'm gonna watch him for a bit. I'm just gonna see his life, see how he does things. He could have took that guy out right then and there. Rita could still be alive. Harrison. Now, when we watch the show, when we watch little baby Harrison being born, we're gonna go, "Oh, this guy guns down Dexter Morgan." So it's gonna be a fun rewatch in the future. But again, Dexter gave the blessing, and he even I love that he even was like giving him a target with his hands of hit here, and yeah, it was a good moment.
Someone has a solution that I guess the cop car is like nearby, and I guess they have like a GPS on there, so maybe that's how she found. That actually does make sense, and I'm sure the first thing she'd be doing is searching Logan's cop car. Cause I guess it doesn't really matter whose cop car. I should be able to pretty easily find out who it was. There's only like 3 people that work at this police station.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good solution. Thank you, Spooky Slots, for that. I think that kind of wraps that makes sense to me.
Dexter didn't kill Dokes, Lila did. Yeah, Dexter just fucking locked him up in a cabin with no food and a bucket to shit in, yeah. Yeah, Lila couldn't have blown him up if that wasn't the case there. So Batista's still on the way to talk to Angela. Yeah, I don't think he would stop just because Dexter got away or dead. Again, I even would like that scene of Batista showing up to the crime scene of Dexter's body, just seeing that and just
drop some lines.
Yeah, just something. Well, yeah, just speaking lines. Not actually. He's like, "Fuck, this is too much to take. I gotta take a second." He's just doing lines in his car over there. But no, I would have liked to see some sort of fall out that. And writers claim. Well, you talk about claim it's internet breaking. I don't think Harrison killing. I think internet breaking would have been Dexter killing Harrison, but I do think this is in a way where you're clearly seeing there's going to be a big debate about this season and a big debate about this episode. And again, for anyone that was wanting the other seasons, I do understand that, but they all said going in this was going to be a one season to close it off, to kind of give it a rerun, a recoat of paint. And I don't think they're. Would you guys actually have any interest if they do announce a Harrison show? They say we're doing just one, dealing with the head nods. I'm going to start with them. Yeah, so they say, okay, we're going to do 6 episodes of what happens in life with Harrison. You got no interest in that?
Yeah, just do like a comic book or something. Like, tell me what Harrison's doing there. I don't want to watch a season of that. I don't think. I mean, I think I also wasn't a huge fan of his acting throughout some parts of it. Like I said at the very beginning of this episode, like I think in this particular episode, he did a good job acting, but it wasn't always consistent. So I don't think I'd want a show focusing on him completely. And yeah, I just don't. I think even story wise, like I don't. You definitely could show where he's gonna go, what he's gonna do if the Dark Passenger comes back. But that's not the show.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't want that. Yeah.
I've watched 9 episodes of Dexter now, and I'm ready to put it to bed, and I can say that happily.
Yeah,
so
and I feel
it sounds like I might be in the minority. It sounds like generally people are not happy with it, and if our chat's anything to gauge you by, and I'm sorry that sucks. After to wait this long and be like just let down just as badly, that really sucks. So my condolences to you.
Yeah, 10 years, another season, and they just do it to you again.
I wonder how many people are in your camp where they knew that this was the final season, because I did not know that they announced that, or maybe I did and I just completely forgot. I didn't know that this was okay, here's one final season, because I think if you go in with that expectation, it probably helps ease the blow a bit if you didn't like the ending as much. I mean, that I didn't know, and I did like the ending, but that's kind of I don't know, irrelevant to that particular point. But
well, yeah, and I think for me, if they were to do a show about Harrison and the Dark Passenger like came back and like Taylor's pitch, it's like Dexter's the ghost, I wouldn't want that, because that to me, whatever that smile is at the end of this episode would just be completely gone. It would be, okay, it was really for nothing. And maybe he shouldn't have killed Dexter. Maybe he should have been on the run with Dexter especially if, I think that would make the fans mad. If they did a show called Harrison and Dexter came back, people would just be like, why didn't we just do another season with Michael C. Hall if he was willing to come back? I think this is Michael C. Hall being, I don't want to keep playing Dexter forever. I love the character, I love the role, he said that, but I know I can do more. And I could maybe agree with what Welcome to Paradise is saying here is Andrew couldn't solve the runaway case for years, but figure out Dexter was a Bay Harbor butcher in a week. You could make the argument that because she was closer with Jim, that maybe, that helped. But again, it is a small town, and I guess, I will agree it feels rushed. I don't know if she couldn't figure it out, but I do think it maybe feels like a little rush and whatnot. So, yeah. What else do you guys do? We'll head down. We review comic books, movies, video games, stuff like that. Got a podcast network. All the links are down below, so that's kind of what we do. But we talk about all this geekdom and stuff like that. So if you like what we're doing here, we do that about, Boba Fett coming up this week and movies. Check out our Spider-Man No Way Home review. That was a big one. So, Kirklin, same question to you that I posed to everybody else. Harrison, let's say this Monday gets announced, season 1 of Harrison. Are you any excited or intrigued in that show?
I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I'd definitely be intrigued, and I'd probably check it out. Assuming I'm still subscribed to Crave or however I'm watching it. I don't know, scratch that itch of Dark Passenger vigilante out there. I feel like the whole routine of like what Dexter had of like his ritual of like capturing villains, like Like, I definitely love the character stuff the most, but I still like that aspect of it. I thought it was just entertaining. Makes me just think of earlier on in the show. It was mostly focused around that, of just how he's dealing with different serial killers or villains that are just getting the blade from Dexter. So I think if we're diving back into that, I would be lying to myself and you if I said I wasn't intrigued at least a little bit.
Yeah, that comment. I love that.
Harrison No Way Home. That's a good.
He's already
one,
got the
yeah.
background too.
Yeah,
Iron Lake
Iron
Butcher,
Lake
that
Butcher.
guy.
Yeah, he's
that's
ready.
what
He's ready to go. And he has
Yeah.
the from this episode, and that was great. I do want to shout out to Michael C. Hall when he just wants to turn on looking like a creepy serial killer. Man, can he do that? And all the photos in the jail cells. Yeah, you don't want to believe him
Yeah.
at all. I want a prequel. I wouldn't. The way Dylan said of like a Harrison comic book, I'd be down for a comic book of Dexter stories and stuff, but it wouldn't get you anything substantial, right? It would just be more wiggles. It'd be more him taking out stuff. And again, I get because they just want more Dexter, and I get that. I understand that. We live in a world where Tobey Maguire just came back as Spider-Man, and we got a fourth Matrix, and we're getting like a Lightyear movie next year, and there's reboots and stuff. So I do get that. You have Dexter. It's a show you loved, and it's back. But I think there is something good about finally putting it to bed a bit. So Taylor, you had brought up, but what is your actual odds of foreseeing a Harrison show being announced, and what would be your excitement for it if it were to happen?
I mean, like I said earlier, I feel like money speaks, and whether or not people are talking about it right now, but this series generated reviews, ratings, numbers, money. I feel like maybe they would be interested in pursuing something. Maybe it's hard to know what their minds are thinking. Seeing the feedback from this episode and the fallout may sway that a little bit, but
at the end of the day, people hated the season 8 finale, and people came back for this, right? They were intrigued
exactly.
to see,
So I do think what would it take for me to come into a new spin-off show focusing on Harrison? Like, I don't believe there'd be any killing. He's not going to be wrapping people up in saran wrap to the bench and be in the dark defender or anything like that. So I can cross that off the list of things to expect. So the only thing that I would genuinely want to see is the fallout and the follow-up of him, seeing Batista, like that dynamic unfolding, like Batista in shock, like, oh my God, Harrison. But those are all things that I think can't be done in another show and would have been just a waste of time. These are things that I would have preferred to have seen in this. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I get this episode. Bring Batista in. He sees Dexter, sees Harrison. It's all just crazy. We get all this unfolding, but just Harrison on his own, there's not enough ground there. Like, if this show was to set up a whole new fan base to get into the Dexter world, it didn't really do that.
No.
This show was designed, like they said, to close out and give us the proper ending that we wanted from Dexter. So they don't have much ground to run with if they're going to give us a new show with new characters.
So I have three
Well
comments
said,
I really want to shout out. This is complete denial factor. Ashley Chavez. Wait, someone said Dexter stole bulletproof vest when he left the station. That he may have, but he wasn't
bleeding.
Yeah, he wasn't when
He also put the squib on his shirt.
Yeah.
He also
Yeah.
had like a fake blood.
because I've seen this happen in so much comic book stuff too. Daily with one of my favorite comic books. So you're telling me Dexter this whole time was just a sick serial killer?
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah. And I love this good event. I have no clue who you people are, but I didn't mind the ending. I'll be honest. I was hoping for another 8 seasons. I was loving the show. Gonna
I
miss
like
it.
that attitude.
Yeah, and I like that where you don't have to love it, but you're accepting it. But I do, and I love that you don't know who you are, but thanks. And I want Dexter in his 20s. Yeah, if you want that, sure. But I like Taylor. You said a good thing for me, the Harrison show. Anything I would want would just be one more episode of this, like even just a shorter 40-minute one of just a wrap up. No pun intended. I don't need to see like, oh, Harrison struggled to get his job. Like Batista meeting his siblings, maybe Anja, and someone I also want to pop out. They said, "Oh, this was my thing too." Pop up boot. I thought Anja would adopt Harrison and give him a happy ending, but she tells him to f off. Well, she got rid of him because Audrey would just be giving him a happy ending all the time, so she didn't want that in the household. They had one
Nice
last
profile
good night
picture.
together. Yeah, but no, he's too much of a flight risk. Even though I still kind of that for me is a con for him telling him to run. I don't think he really needed to run. No matter what, his name is going to come up to. I guess he'll change his name too. Maybe I don't know, but Let's see. Wow, he faked his death. Let's go. Anything else? So, one note I just want to say is I really, really disliked the music when Angela arrested Dexter.
Yeah, I agree.
And
It's
they were
so
taking him out. It was really weird. It was almost like an upbeat, like poppy song, and it didn't work for me. Really wrong
Yeah.
choice there.
For me,
so.
yeah, the music in general, like even when Kurt's up on his like oil truck thing and he's burning down Dexter's cabin,
was
I was
the
not a fan of
best.
that music.
Oh, so
You
good.
like that? Oh, I was not into that.
No, I don't know if they like the music, but he liked the scene at least.
The
you know?
scene, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
the scene's funny. Yeah, the music choice, not the best.
Dylan, we didn't get your, because you weren't here for those things. What were your thoughts on Kurt overall? Because obviously this is gonna be the last time
Oh,
we
yeah.
talk about Dex. What were your thoughts of Kurt as like the big bad this season?
Yeah, I mean, Clancy Brown's the actor's name, right?
Yeah, Clancy Brown. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah,
Krabs.
I thought he was fantastic. He's a great actor. And I don't know. I don't want to go down a big deep rabbit hole in that. But I really liked the character. I think it was good tension. I liked how involved he was with the town. I just love the whole dynamic of the town. I feel like he just had so much control that it made it really interesting. So yeah, I big kudos. I think they did a good job.
Was it the eyebrows that gave him away for you?
The eyebrows.
Yeah,
We-
that's how
we-
it worked with Travis and
Because
Kirkland.
when he put on his ski mask, he had Clancy Brown's like.
I feel like
longer.
Clancy Brown's just like massive. He's just like a huge individual. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what gave it away, like him in the ski suit thing, like the kind of Inception ski suit that he was wearing.
Yeah, he was wearing that. Yeah.
I got another follow-up question for you, Dylan. How did you feel in the last episode, actually, when Harrison was eating the venison and Kurt just strolls in his Call of Duty armor?
Yeah, he just equipped his skin. Yeah, it was something. It was something.
And see, I've seen a few people say this. I want someone to throw a link in the chat or something like that. There's a big announcement from the Dexter team on Monday. I don't know what that big announcement would be. Again, I could see a comic book, something like that. I legitimately don't see the Harrison show happening. If they were going to do that, they would have made him have the Dark Pasture. I really feel. And then I think if they do it now, it's kind of like retroactively. It would make this season worse for me. If they made it that, oh yeah, he is a killer. Again, they should just took Dexter along and he could have been there and stuff like that.
What if it's what if it doesn't involve Harrison at all? What if it's continuing in the universe and we get just a copycat like a Sam Witwer's like, I'm going to be the Bay Harbor Butcher?
Well, I don't want. So you just tell me I'm getting a show in the Dexter universe with no Dexter characters?
Exactly.
No, thank you.
No. Well, no. Let me rephrase it. You get like your Batista, and you get some of these other familiar
No.
faces back in it, but it's not Harrison related.
I love all those characters to an extent, but not to the extent where if they were to say, "Oh, coming to Showtime this fall, Batista," no, that's just not going to do it for me. These characters work in this world surrounding Jim Lindsay, stuff like that. And I think, for an example, I think it worked well enough. But Kirkland, I feel like they tried that with Breaking Bad when they did that Jesse spinoff film, and it was fine. But that was a big thing of you need the whole band together for this to really work, because that felt like it was a 2-hour episode, and we've said, oh, this just felt like it was a movie. It just felt like, oh, you could have made this an episode of the show. It was an epilogue, and I guess you could do that if they were to say we're making a Harrison maybe like hour-and-a-half movie. Then okay, sure. If that was like a wrap-up, then sure, I could be interested in seeing like someone point out, yeah, him finding Cody and Astor, things like that. But I don't think a show or anything like that, because like I said, that Breaking Bad movie I think showed that when Walter White was gone, you kind of needed that anchor. So. Let's see. People are really rocking this bulletproof vest here. I can't wait to go back and see the screens of that. So, Dexter really did seem to dislike bad people. That is true. Anything else to shout out, and then we'll do overall of the season and thoughts. I'm gonna look through my notes, but anything from this episode? Talked about Logan. Talked about Kurt's all stuff being found out. Audrey's gonna have a terrible morning when she wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
I'm
super
feeling,
chat
I'm
donation.
feeling like what we've said everything, and I feel like some people are rolling in just now and stuff in the chat, and like we've talked about some of these things already, so I don't want to just keep spinning the wheels on that. But yeah, I feel like I've hit my notes here.
Bessie, bro, are you comparing the Breaking Bad writers to Dexter? Given this any, you shouldn't put them in comparison. No, I wouldn't, because Breaking Bad's far superior, but it is a thing where they were kind of around the similar time. They always got comparisons, right? But a big shout out to Alexander for that super chat, talking about Harris. Yeah, we need Dexter No Way Home, where he meets Book Dexter. Oh my, yeah, I don't think we'll get the book. Dexter is very different. The book Dexter
What
became
if episode? Yeah.
he became a cannibal. He bumped into a cult. In the book, the Dark Passenger was legitimately like a thing that attached to Dexter. The first 3 books, he was just a regular serial killer, and then he met a cult, and they explained like, oh no, this is a thing that can attach to you and make you kill people and
Like
stuff
a
like
physical
Harrison
thing or like
show.
a spiritual
thing, like
Okay.
a conjuring.
I thought you meant
ghost.
like literally like Death Stranding. He like throws a massive backpack on or something like that.
Yeah, so like Dylan said, lots of people are throwing stuff in the chat. You can go back. Now we've been at this hour and a half. So anything we're going to do is overall thoughts and just rings, but anything for you guys of this episode that we haven't talked about? Taylor Kirkland?
I don't think
All right,
so.
so chat, we're going to give our final thoughts. So what I want to do, out of 10, rate the whole season, not the finale, not just the finale by itself. I want the whole season, what you thought about that. Taylor, Phil, what did you think about the show overall? So now we've had a new season of Dexter. As of right now, it's closed off. Dexter Morgan's story is done. What do you think of the season, and what would you give a rating if you wanted to give one?
So this season was a awesome pick-me-up from where we ended off near the end of the previous seasons. I thoroughly enjoyed many aspects, and it just was great. I think the nostalgia trip as well, just kicking in full swing for me, coming off of a long period of no Dexter, getting to see him get back into the swing of things, getting the dynamic, the Easter eggs, the familiarity back in. It just felt great. But at its core, I don't want to let that kind of sugarcoat a lot of the flaws that this season has had. Again, I don't like that there were many unanswered things, a lot of wasted time, a lot of, I don't want to say plot holes, but like red herrings and everything like that. There were many good memes that came out of it, and that kind of like makes it a little bit like an extra like nudge up for me.
It gave us Kurt. Kurt was a big
It gave us
meme
Kurt.
around here.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Clancy Brown was
We
just
got Kurt.
fantastic. Probably one of my favorite villains in the Dexter universe at this point. But yeah, at its core, I'm happier with this ending. As debatable and heated as this ending is, I definitely think it's much more well off than Mother Nature trying to take him down. So
Yeah. A hurricane. How can people say this is worse than a hurricane?
yeah, I like if I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna rewatch any Dexter seasons, I do like those first seasons, and then I would definitely feel inclined to rewatching this one because like it was a good time, and it's just I'm gonna find good moments in this, but I would probably give it. I'd probably go. I feel. Oh shit! I wanted to say a 7 out of 10, but I feel like that's being very generous. I feel like I'm being
Really?
generous. Yeah,
I'm
like I like
surprised you're
it.
that low.
Yeah.
I just feel like there was. I've embraced the ending. I've accepted it, and I just feel like I'm one of those guys that just has my own kind of like thought and perspective of where it could have gone. But I'm giving it the 7 out of 10, and I will stand by that. But at its core, like in retrospect, I just feel like the season did have a lot of kind of bumps in the road, but I still enjoyed it for what it is. And watching with you guys made me definitely enjoy it. So for me, I feel like a 7 is definitely within the realm of comfortability.
Lori, I don't know how season 10 ruined it all. There is no season 10, so that's kind of
For
that
the
happens.
for the new listeners in the chat, that's a very low rating for Taylor.
Yeah, that is. I was
Fine.
surprised
Yeah.
at 7 out of 10.
Well,
yeah.
you divide it in half and you add 2. Isn't that the...
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
My favorite, as I saw, I put on the screen someone named Lance. He said season 2, finale 1. So you were really just you did not like your time was not well spent with this Dexter season if the whole season was a 2, and that's fine if it was a 2 for you. But man, a 2 and then the
I
finale
don't know how you
1.
watch 10 episodes of a show that's a 2. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. More like good on you, I guess.
Yeah.
But Dilmas, what are your overall thoughts for the show, and how do you feel now that this is the end for Dexter?
Yeah, I wish I could get like with Jess give a more like a better comparison to what I would compare it to the older seasons, but it's just been so long since I've watched them that I mean, there's no way that this compares to the early seasons for me. But I really just can't even remember enough about like 7 and 8 to really compare them to those seasons. But I think this is pretty solid for. This is such a difficult project to take on, to pick up this show that had such this fervor behind it, tons of fans, some great seasons, some not so great seasons, some just so much that goes on with this character in this world. To pick it up and do something interesting with it, like I think if you in isolation, just the show, if it's not a Dexter show, it's just any show. In that sense, I was gripped. Like each episode, I couldn't wait to watch the next one. And even though I had stuff to do, I was like, okay, I'm hitting play on the next one. I just want to see the first 5 minutes at least to see how this one thing resolves. So I was definitely in it. And as a Dexter, this ending, I words cannot express how disappointed I was at the ending of season 8. I was like crushed. My favorite show. I had watched it like religiously for like 2 years, and then I was just crushed. So I can say that I'm happy with the ending of this show. I can rest easy as a Dexter fan with an ending that I can look back to. I don't know if I'll rewatch this show at some point. If I do, I don't know if I'll go through the whole 9-season thing. Maybe someday I will. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, this season had a lot of issues as well. We could talk about those, but I think we've talked about them enough. But yeah, really enjoyed my time with it, and I'm glad it's done. It's a good ending.
Kirklin Patzer, where are you in all this?
Yeah, I think I can start off by just saying I'm glad that this is a thing. I'm glad that we're able to come back and watch Dexter again and actually enjoy watching it. Especially just doing the reviews with you guys. Like it's fun speculating. Like we were joking about the first episode. We went on a half an hour debate whether or not Harrison was real. Thinking about that now, we were. It's probably not the worst prediction I've ever made.
Maybe he was never real.
Oh, that's next
Let's
season.
not go down that.
But no, like all in all, I'm glad it was a thing. It introduced a lot of fun new characters that we had lots of fun with. Some that were like really, like I thought they're really good characters with lots of different layers. Whether we're bringing in Logan or Angela or just some other characters like that, not the billionaire, but More than anything, I'm glad we got Kurt because, man, I feel like that image of him with the rifle and the full Call of Duty outfit, that'll never leave my memory now. It's great. Travis has it saved. He drops it often.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
But no, all in all, I'm happy with this. I've only seen, well, I've never seen the entirety of Dexter, actually. I gave up, I think, halfway through the last season. That was getting rough. So I don't have like fresh memory of like season to season, but this season it made me remember like the good stuff of the show, even though it was really different. So I think I'm gonna give it like, honestly, I think I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10, which I'm not sure how Travis is feeling. I might be the highest on it, but I think there was, it had its issues, especially just wasting time in certain areas I didn't think was necessary. But all of the Deb stuff for me was like 10 out of 10. We dove into a lot of really good like character emotional stuff with Dexter, which we got before, but I think here it was just tackled a lot rawer because of Harrison, and there was just a lot more personal stakes with the character of Dexter, and I really like that stuff. And I didn't shout it out, but like when Dexter was in the prison scene in this episode, there's just so many really good shots on him of like the moonlight coming in and just like his face on like there's just so many really good shots. And I think throughout the season there was some really good ones in there. And all in all, I had a good time watching it, and that's what you want when you watch a show. It doesn't matter if you're happy with the decisions of the writers. I think if you're having fun watching it, which I did, I was fortunate enough to get that. So,
Car, we know it's not a Call of Duty outfit. We're just having some fun. If you play Call of Duty, Kurt looks like a skin you unlock at level 50 or something
that's
like
so
that.
great.
It's
no.
That's how he's stuck with us.
That's a meme that we had.
Yeah, go back to whenever he got that
Call of
episode.
Duty
on,
invented war.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's
For
fun.
myself, as I said, you can go back for the people if you like this. I did review every single season. I watched all of them up into this. And next week, I will be dropping a rankings episode. So I'm going to be ranking all the big bads, ranking all the seasons, and then some other things. I might rate the pilots. I'll probably rank the finales. I actually should rank the finales and go that way. But Dexter was a show at one point was my favorite show of all time. I loved it. Discovered it, as I said in that first retro. And it just sucked from season to season, just decline. And it did get out of my top 10 because the seasons were poor, but also that ending was just dreadful. And I feel this has redeemed the show where I can actually put it back in my top 10 and feel, you know what, I'm happy with it there, because I obviously now I can't wait for tomorrow morning. I can't wait to see the chat and to see the comments and see just Twitter and whatnot, to see where it's all going to lay, especially in a couple weeks. But I think on the whole, eventually when people get past it and realize, okay, Dexter's dead, it's sad, I think this is a much just ballpark better ending than season 8, of just leaving us so uncertain, and just even the characters being very disappointing with their outcomes and their endings. I thought this was great, and I think it starts all the way back with Michael C. Hall. I think he did not lose a step. He just went right back in that role, even when he was just doing the fake like Jim Lindsay stuff. That was tons of fun times too. So I think this felt like redemption. This felt like a fighter who got knocked out and took a couple years off because they were just embarrassed. They didn't think they could do it, and they came back. Yeah, they were a little sloppy. Yeah, their right hooks is not as strong as it used to be, but he still won the match. Now, he died the next day, but still he won the match. And for me, this was, like I said, a redeeming season. And again, it's not a perfect season. It's not season 1 or season 4 for me, but it's up there. It might be, actually, I won't say that because you can check out the rankings episode next week, but it's higher. It's in the top half, which I'm happy. And I'm very excited to see later on, is I want to try just watching the show 1 to 4, skip all the other ones, and just jump to this and see how it would work. Because the last show of season 4 is him walking with Harrison covered in blood in that bathroom. I feel you could skip everything and get to this and kind of fill in the holes. So I was very, very happy, and just a big bravo to Michael C. Hall, Clyde Phillips, and that whole team for at least giving myself, and the people that are, if they just legitimately didn't like the ending, I am sorry, like Dylan said, it does suck, it is a disappointment, but for myself, who am really happy with this ending, I just applaud them that they did come back, and I feel good about Dexter now. It was, when we started this podcast, it was a joke, it was a meme, we would always talk about that ending, Kirklin stopped watching the season, like, it was in such a bad place. So now that we're leaving it in a good place for myself, I'm very happy. So I'm going to go a 9 out of 10. I'm the highest on it right there. Ooh. Because the only cons I have are some rushiness and some maybe a little bit of wasted time. But there's no massive, huge cons where every time we had a con every episode, I wish they tightened those screws a bit better. I wish they maybe went over that a bit better. All the big stuff, primarily other than seeing some fallout and maybe the finale being a little rushed at the end, it all worked for me. And it was just great to see Michael C. Hall back doing his thing. Jennifer Carpenter was great back, and it felt like this was a season for the fans. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but for me, as a Dexter fan, it ticked majority of the boxes I want. So, yeah, that was lots of fun. Thank you to everyone that participated in the chat. That was a big, big zero on the. Yeah, this was lots of fun. We tried to keep up as much as possible. Obviously, people have shown a lot of things. If you liked what we do here, am I gone?
No, you're here. You're here. We can hear you. There you go.
I got hacked. I couldn't think this. No, if you like what we do here, we cover all this stuff on Marvel, DC, video games, TV shows. We do weekly Boba Fett shows. And same thing, if you're like us that stayed to midnight, this is what we did. This is similar to the Loki review when we had that, and that was just popping off for the finale. So same thing, we stayed to midnight, we watched those. And if not, you can check out the podcast feed the next day, Apple, Spotify. We're on all those type of things. So just go to the links below. But gentlemen, this was lots of fun, and I promise when you hear from us next, it'll not be boring. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
See ya.
Bye-bye.